Now, at the beginning of each July, my parents and I, right around the 4th, we would take a 2-week vacation. And we would almost always go to a town called Orford, New Hampshire, where we had a little piece of land with a trailer on it. Now, this should have been restful, but it was a nightmare. We had to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning to pack the car. This had to be done in absolute silence because they watch. And if they happened to see you packing your car at 3 o'clock in the morning, then they would know that they could come and rob you. They were everywhere. They were even more frightening than the communists, and for some reason, they always seemed to be watching us. Now, in those days, we had a 1960 Rambler station wagon. This made stealth packing very difficult. Each door weighed about 300 pounds and took 15 minutes to close quietly. We packed that car with enough stuff to enable 100 people to camp on the moon for an entire year. Most of it tied up on top of the car in an old green canvas tarp. The rest of it jammed inside, filling every square inch. There was just enough room in the back seat for me to sit uncomfortably. This made it very difficult to look for airplanes when the blue light came on. Now, the cool thing about the car trip was the car food. It was usually peanut butter and marshmallow fluff on saltine crackers, and for some reason, real Coca-Cola. A miracle. I think my father insisted on it. God bless his sweet toot. Also, we would always stop for ice cream at Dairy Queen, or as my father would say, Dairy Cream! I think there was one somewhere in Massachusetts we would stop. Now, we'd get to Dairy Cream, and my father would give my mother some money and say, why don't you go get us a couple of combs? That's what he called them, ice cream combs. Imagine you're sitting with your friends and your father says, hey, Robbie, let's go down to Dairy Cream and get some ice cream combs. So my mother would go up and get the combs. I'd go with her if I could be trusted not to drop anything. My father would always get chocolate, either in a comb or a sundae. Being a big baby, I would always get vanilla with cherry dip. My mother would go crazy and get a mixed comb, chocolate and vanilla. She'd always wrap about 12 napkins around it because she knew it was going to melt. We all did. That's because we couldn't eat the ice cream at a picnic table or someplace comfortable. We had to eat it in a 700-degree car because heaven forbid we should enjoy it. Eat it from the bottom, hurry up, it's going to melt. Well, of course it's going to melt. You could roast a steer in the back seat of this car. To this day, I still eat an ice cream cone in about 8 seconds. You should see my wife's face if we're out in public. She'll take a couple bites of ice cream, actually enjoying it, and I will rip into mine like the Tasmanian devil. Now, when we had finished this ice cream blitz, if I happened to have gotten some on my face, out of the glove compartment would come the wash and dries, those moist towelettes. Now, in those days, they were lemon-scented. The smell of those things in the 700-degree car, while my mother rubbed half the skin off my face. On top of the fact that I had a pounding headache from eating a pint of ice cream in 5 seconds made me want to puke. And to make matters worse, for some ungodly reason, my father would always park around the back of Dairy Cream next to the dumpster, so no one will see us. See us doing what? Setting a new world record for fastest ice cream eating? And if somebody did come around the back of Dairy Cream, say to throw some trash in the dumpster, my father would get nervous. And he'd say, make like you're looking at the map. This happened all the time. Everything we did had to be covert. If we stopped on the highway at a scenic view area, and somebody else pulled in, say to admire the view, he would get nervous. He'd say, make like you're checking the tires. To this day, I have no idea why. Maybe he thought if people saw us enjoying ourselves, they'd get the wrong idea. They might think we were the rich people with more money than Carter's got liver pills. Now, when we finally got to Orford, New Hampshire, the real fun would begin. Our trailer sat on a little piece of land, on a mountain, in a forest, with a little stream running through it. It was beautiful. There were birds and trees and blue sky. Did I enjoy it? No. July in New Hampshire starts the black fly season. Nasty little monsters that bite the hell out of you, and they really hurt. They're attracted to sweat. So imagine the feast on July 2nd when little Robbie climbs out of the back of the blazing Rambler station wagon. They'd been waiting for me all summer. And they didn't care that my mother sprayed enough off on my face that it foamed up like oven cleaner. They seemed to be attracted to it. Now, the trailer itself it was built before World War II. It's about 40 feet long, powder blue with a fading yellow stripe. Now, eventually, my father and I will paint this monster dark green so it'll blend in with the forest. And no one will see us! There is a perennial hornet's nest over the front door. They are thrilled that I've returned. "Don't be such a baby," my father screams, oblivious to these hornets that are chasing me into the woods. The inside of the trailer is at least 300 degrees hotter than the inside of the car. We open up the windows, and then we get to work. Labor camp begins. My mother starts barking out orders. We have to unpack the car, turn on the electricity, turn on the gas, prime the pump for the well, and I have to cut the grass, which is now 4 feet high. My parents bought an old manual rotating blade lawnmower at a barn sale for 50 cents. You can't imagine how long it takes to cut 4-foot-high hay with something that was also built before the war, before the Civil War. This is what my parents consider a vacation. Now, by the time all these things were done, it was dark, and the mosquitoes were picking up where the black flies had left off. Oh, and worst of all, heaven forbid you had to go to the bathroom, especially at night. It was outside. The John, my father called it. He built it himself, and I'm sure that for the first day of its existence, it was a pretty nice place to poop. After that, it became a stinking, spider-infested nightmare. No lights, so you had to take a flashlight. Now, the first time I shined a light into that hole and saw a pair of eyes shining back at me, it's enough to make me hold it. Till I got back to Hooterville.